Welcome to the History of Canada. Today's main ideas that we need to think about is that beginning in the 1600s, Europeans settled the region that would later become known as Canada. A few things that you need to be able to recall is who were the first Canadians? What was New France? Why was New France important? How did trade with native Canadians and other parts of the French Empire help the French compete with their British rivals? How did the French and Indian War affect New France? And what did Canada's leaders hope to achieve by building a railroad across the country? We will learn more about that as we continue our history of Canada. The history of Canada goes all the way back to the Ice Age. After the land bridge had melted, people moved into all areas of what is now known as Canada today, as they did elsewhere in the Americas. These ancient settlers adapted to the physical environment, even though it was very harsh. So the native Canadians, people such as the Inuit people and others were the first Canadians. Over the years, some of these native peoples divided into groups that became known as the First Nations. One group living in Canada's vast interior plains, the Cree, were skilled bison hunters. In the far north, the Inuits adapted to the region's extreme cold, where farming was impossible. By hunting seals, whales, walruses, and other animals, the Inuit could feed, clothe, and house themselves. Today, more than 1 million Aboriginals and Inuit live in Canada. European settlement. Other people migrated to Canada from Europe. The first Europeans in Canada were the Vikings, or Norsemen. They settled on Newfoundland Island in about 1000 AD, but later abandoned their settlements.
From their earliest days in Greenland, the Vikings had been exploring the waters that lay to the west of their settlements. Around the year 990, Eric the Red's son, Leif Erikson, heard about a land of low hills and trees that a Viking trader had seen from his ship, and he decided to go there and see it for himself. That was how the Viking Greenlander Leif Erikson became the first explorer of European descent to set foot on the North American continent. Leif landed on the east coast of what is today Canada, in a place the Vikings named Markland, which meant forested land. After landing in Markland, Leif wanted to do more exploring, so he sailed south down the coast for quite a long time, until he came to a rich land of many trees where wild grain grew. And because even grapevines grew there, he named it Vinland. No one really knows where Vinland was located, but some historians think it was near the southern part of today's state of Maine, because a Viking coin was once found there. But there is no doubt at all that the Vikings did build a permanent settlement on the Canadian island of Newfoundland, and it is possible that Newfoundland may have been the Vinland Leif Erikson described. It is also known from the Viking stories called sagas that for hundreds of years the Vikings from Greenland came again and again to the shores of North America to get lumber and to hunt, and that Norwegian trading ships sailed between Europe and Greenland for many centuries with loads of cargo. So it is quite possible that Viking goods made in North America actually reached Europe long before Christopher Columbus sailed to the New World.
In the late 1400s, other Europeans arrived and explored Canada. Soon, more explorers and fishers from Western Europe began crossing the Atlantic. Trade quickly developed between the Europeans and native Canadians. Europeans valued the furs that Native Canadians supplied. The Canadians wanted European metal goods like axes and guns. Through trading, they began to also exchange foods, clothing, and methods of travel.